Welcome back to the Between the Pages podcast, friends. I'm so excited that you are here. And today we're talking about something that so many of us quietly wrestle with: comparison. That feeling of being behind, overlooked, or wondering if your life measures up. I'm joined by Kelley Johnson, Listener Engagement Director and Evening DJ at Life 97.3. Kelley shares so honestly about learning to navigate comparison in her 30s, how it didn't end after high school like she expected, and the surprising ways God has shown up in the in-between. This conversation is a reminder that even when life doesn't look how we imagined, it can still be full of purpose, joy, and beauty. Let's dive in. Hey friend, welcome to the Between the Pages podcast, where we explore navigating life's peaks and valleys with bold faith. Join us bi-weekly as we dive into meaningful conversations with guests, team members, and community leaders. Together, we'll tackle topics that challenge and encourage, helping you live out your faith between the pages of everyday life. Well, friends, we are back again with another episode of the Between the Pages podcast, and I am joined by my dear friend, Kelley. Welcome to the podcast, friend.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We are so excited because this is something that I remember we were kind of like thinking, what should we talk about on the podcast? Like, there's so many different things, and, the Lord works in mysterious ways, because it was like, nothing's really like popping out to me. And then things started happening in my life that we had talked to each other about just in like casual conversations. And I was like, okay, God, I was like, I feel like you got something here. And we can talk about the deep, dark, good, bad parts of comparison. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited. And before we kind of dive into the meat potatoes of the episode, you give all of your wise words of encouragement, wisdom, experiences, all the things.
Okay.
You're like, please. Just like introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, a little fun fact, just so our listeners and viewers can just get to know you, and we invite them to our little coffee table with us.
Yeah. So I'm Kelley Johnson. I work at Life 97.3, which is the Christian music station in Duluth. And I am the Listener Engagement Director, which basically means I get to find ways to engage our listeners with the station and out into their communities. So I love connecting with people. And I'm also the evening host on Life 97.3 as well. So fun fact, I've moved a lot in my life, and Duluth, I've been here for about 9 years, but the longest I've lived anywhere consecutively is Duluth after 9 years, because I moved a ton as a kid, like every 2 to 3 years. So that's my fun fact.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine, because then like you think about, what we're talking about today with comparison, like it re-hits almost every single time you move, because you're in new communities and new schools, new friends, new friend groups, and there's always just something new coming up. Mm-hmm. And I know that you and I have talked about different kind of scenarios in our life where we've kind of fallen into that comparison. For those of you that have been kind of following along with our blog, we kind of initially talked about comparison with my story a little bit, and we're going to kind of continue that here within this podcast. So encourage you to go check that out here after you're done listening, whatever platform you're on here today. But to just kind of, invite people into your story, Kelley, what are just maybe some stories that you have of times when you found yourself caught in a trap of comparison, and how did that kind of affect your daily life and mindset as you went into like your workplace, your friend groups, things like that?
Yeah. So I mean, as I told you, I kind of thought that comparison was this thing that you just deal with as like a middle high school kid. And then as life kind of continued after high school and college, I kept noticing that it was there. Like you just don't think that it's like a silly thing that you're going to deal with like just in high school. But no, turns out in your 30s, you're still fighting against that. Mm-hmm. And for me, actually, I didn't realize until the last 3 years how much it wasn't just something I dealt with or would come up every once in a while, but it was something that was actually pretty deeply rooted. And it came out through some of my friendships, some of my closest friendships that I have, and some just things that have happened in the last couple of years have resulted in realizing like, oh, this is a big problem that I can't let grow. Like I have to catch this before it gets much bigger. I have two really good friends, my two best friends in the world. I spend a lot of time with them, and one of them in particular, she's my roommate. She is one of my best friends. We go to the same church. We work together, and we actually at a certain point we're doing like literally everything you could do. Our lives crossed over with one another, and it kind of was at the point where I've, lived in the same place long enough and we've been in the same communities that we started to be grouped together a lot. It was always like not just one of us, but both of us. And so especially when we started working together, that was the point where I started noticing that I was having these feelings come up that I did not like. Like there was a time that she was going on this big trip, and I was talking this out with her today, actually. There were two kind of extremes that were happening at this time. She was getting this really cool opportunity through work, and she's getting to travel for it and get to like get a new wardrobe for it and do all these like really fun things. And at that time, I had just gotten out of a relationship, and it was one where I thought it was going to go further than it did. And I was kind of at this other extreme where it was like all this exciting things for her. And then me, I'm like, I feel like I'm at rock bottom right now. I'm not doing very well. And she was about to leave town. And this kind of came to a bit of a head. And I realized with these feelings, it wasn't something I subtly realized. Unfortunately, it was a kind of like an explosion that happened where I ended up talking with her and realizing like, oh, this is a big problem. And this is something I need to figure out because you're my best friend. And this is not something that I would ever want to continue or get in the way. And so it came through a very like uncomfortable way of having a conversation and some bad feelings that I kind of had to sort through. But it ended up resulting in us realizing that not only did I have areas where I was like comparing my life to the way that hers looked, but also while I was dating this guy, she also was like, well, I'm single and you're in a relationship and you have something that I would want and I'm looking for. So it was interesting how it helped me to realize that comparison is something that is so sneaky, and it's something that it's not just me fighting against it. And knowing that she also was having some of those feelings too, it was like, oh, why are we doing this? Like God has a different plan for each of our lives, and we don't need to be comparing our lives to one another's situations. We should be encouraging and celebrating each other in those things. So that was something that was kind of like a starting point of realizing, oh, this is a problem and I don't want it to continue.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like even whether you're in middle school or high school or college, post-college, 20s, 30s, because I probably like about the time that we had like talked about this, I was like literally walking through it of like one of my very best friends. Like I love her to death. Like we do so many things together. It's like she got engaged and she's planning a wedding. She bought a house. Like she's living this dream that I could only just like ever imagine. And I'm like, you start asking that question of like, why not me? Like God, like why?
Yeah.
I just have questions. And I think back to like even those younger years of, this girl's prettier than I am. Like it's doesn't have to be these big extreme things of like buying a house or like planning a wedding, but it can be those small things like, oh, she has better hair than me. She has better this than me, or she's better at that than me. And was there a time, you said you kind of just realized this 3 years ago, but was there a time thinking back into like your middle high school years where you felt like, maybe that was the point where it really started to spiral, where it was just this like second nature thing where it's just constantly on repeat. And you're like, oh, wait, that's where that cycle started. Was there anything that kind of like you thought of that you're like, oh, that's probably where I really, really started to compare my life to other people?
Yeah. Yes, let's get into that.
Therapy.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I would say, like, looking back on those years, being that I moved around a lot as a kid and was constantly, in a new community, making new friends and trying to kind of make my own way. Something that I now reflect on and see was that I was always trying to kind of fill this void that I thought I had in my life where, it seemed like everybody else had it figured out. Like, and not just people that were older than me, not just like adults or my older brother or whatever. Like I remember feeling like I just didn't belong or that I would never quite figure it out. And to be honest, that's a pattern that I've experienced throughout a lot of my life. And it's something that, again, like you just have to figure out how to navigate that. But I would say like when I was in my college years, that was probably a time where it felt like everybody else was like on this path, and that they were checking off all the boxes that you're supposed to check off and graduate and meet the guy and get married and have the kids. And now being that I'm in my 30s and that hasn't happened, it's interesting that that's something that like hasn't, I don't know.
But it's like, I mean, you in those times where you're like, okay, like even now reminding yourself like God still has like a really beautiful plan. And it is sometimes so hard to believe that. You're like, okay, God, like where's the shipping label? Like where do I get the shipping notification for even a thing that you've prayed so hard for? And with that too, what doesn't help, and this could be a hot take, something that we've told on season 3 is we just talk about hot takes. Comparison, hot take. Another hot take, let's talk about social media, y'all, people, because social media, I would say, is like the number one culprit when it comes to pushing this filter of comparison on our life, and it now becomes integrated into our life that we didn't even know. And how have you maybe navigated in the past, let's say 3 years, let's take 3 years, as you're navigating this, like realizing, in this certain circumstance, I'm comparing my life to their person. So I need to like maybe not do that. How have you navigated social media and maintaining a healthy perspective when you are finding yourself kind of in that mindset of comparison?
Yeah. So actually, I decided about 6 months ago or so to take a break from social media, or come back, I should say. I took a break for about a year from Instagram and from Facebook for about 6 months. And I'm the social media manager at Life 97.3 as well. And so that was a little bit more difficult. I was still on it, but my personal pages, I took a break because the reason for that was I started noticing some different feelings that I had come up as I was just scrolling, looking through some just like at the end of the day going through and stuff. And I did not like what I was feeling because I would come across certain people and I would like have a feeling of like, ugh, or like,
right.
And not about them, but literally just about like what was being shared, or that it I think I was even looking at my own life and thinking like, oh, well, I feel like I am really happy with my life, and I, maybe I'm looking at a picture where it's somebody who's getting married or engaged or kids or whatever, and that's not my life now. But I look at that and I'm like, well, I still would like that, but I don't know. Anyway, I was getting these feelings that I did not like, and I decided that it was time to kind of take a break from that. And so now that I'm back on it, I came in with kind of this perspective of like, okay, I kind of want to focus in on who I'm following, if there's anything that is causing me to feel certain ways about it. And usually it's not even people that I know. It's people that are celebrities, or it's like their full-time gig is to create content and stuff. And that's their choice to do that. And it's not a good place for me to be to let those feelings kind of take over and cause me to look at somebody differently, or then look at myself differently.
Right.
And so, yeah, for me, I try to have some more boundaries around when I'm looking at social media and how I'm using it. Am I using it to help build people up, or is it to just get some likes, like to just get some attention, or what is it? I try to ask myself questions when it comes to posting, as well as when I'm going and looking at any of the content and taking it in. So those are some things that have taken longer to kind of figure out. But I think the best thing that I can do is go in to social media, and if I have certain feelings, ask questions about those feelings.
Mm.
Because especially if they're ones where they're like that angst or the like why
Right.
are you bothered by that? Like
Right.
what is this? I think it's good to be curious about your emotions when they come up, whether good or bad.
And like ask those emotions questions.
Yeah.
And there was a pastor friend of mine who was talking about how sometimes when we have emotions, society just tells us to like push them down, like they're not important, just keep moving.
Yeah.
But God created everything and he created emotion. And so to like lean back into that, what are some questions that like you maybe like tangible questions that you ask yourself? Like say you see a picture of someone, you know, getting engaged or taking like this trip of a lifetime, or even friends that that like you maybe even today were just on social media scrolling and had that little like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like what are some of those questions that you like truthfully like ask yourself?
I ask myself, like, what is the reason why you feel that way right now? And a good example of this for me actually is it's another friendship where I've kind of dealt with comparison more recently. She has gone through some really, really difficult things in the last few years, and I have watched her up close as one of her best friends go through like quite the process of healing. Like she's done a lot to work on her mental health, her physical health, spiritual health. Like it's been really beautiful to get to sit back as her friend and watch this happen. But the reason I bring it up is because something that happened even just like a year ago is I realized that I was starting to feel a little angsty anytime she would talk about how like the things that she was doing. And like whether it be, like she's just celebrating the success of whatever it was, but I would hear it and I would start to feel this. And so I asked myself, like, what is going on? Like, this is one of your best friends. Like, you should be celebrating her. You should be, like just her cheerleader in this. But I wasn't feeling that way. And so after some conversations with her, with myself, and with God, like I realized that so much of it was that I wanted to be as aggressive with my health and with my growth as she was. As I was watching her be, I knew that I wasn't doing the same thing. And granted, we have our own experiences of that, of course. And she's got to figure out her own way to grow and to heal and to be the person that God intended her to be. But I knew that there were some areas of my own life that I was putting off that because for me personally, like it's so easy for me to tell somebody else like, hey, girl, like do the thing, like do it, like be the person that God wanted you to be. God wants you to be, and do the things that are good for you and pursue that growth. But for myself, like that tends to take a back seat. And I didn't realize how much that was happening in my life until I had some of those good friends point that out. And so I think when you start to feel some of those emotions, like I have to ask, like, what is that about? What is behind that? Because chances are the root is like it's a lot of fear, it is anger, it is hurt, and it's things that can be dealt with, but you have to acknowledge that they're even there.
And I feel along that line too, because when you were like, when she would talk to you about the things that she was passionate about, I would feel the same way that you were feeling. I'm like, why is it always we're talking about what you're doing? Like, why don't you ever ask me or ask me questions like, how is the podcast going? How is the ministry going? And it's like, why do we always have to talk about you? And I realized deep down inside that my only answer at the time was I just wanted to feel valued, or I just wanted to feel like some sort of like accomplishment to show like I also can do great things too. Like I don't need the boy, the house, the great job, the promotion, the travel. Like, here's what I have. Like, I'm now trying to push this other person to compare their life to me.
Yeah.
Be like, how about you feel what I'm feeling right now?
Mm.
And I feel like sometimes that's where we stop and then we don't dig further, like you have been talking about, like asking those questions, like, why do I feel that? And asking, like, why do I feel like I need to compare, like, get people to compare to me? Why do I feel like I need it, like, that sort of sense of accomplishment? And taking that one step further, I feel like a lot of people just stop at that, like, this is why.
Yeah.
And anything else?
Yeah.
And are there moments where you feel like you sometimes will just be like, this is my own understanding and I'm just going to accept that? Or do you find now, like, maybe that was your past and maybe now you kind of are, taking this journey of, working through comparison and how hard that can be in a world where it's like you're comparing your life to literally everything. And you're like, I can't lean on my own understanding now. I have to go to Jesus now for this. Was there kind of that turning point or shift in your story that you can share with us of, like, what was that kind of point where you're like, I can't just make up these understandings now. I have to go to the Lord.
Well, it definitely came through a lot of tears. And
lots of tears.
And still, I think tears often reveal a lot about what's actually going on in your heart. And like you said, emotions, like Jesus understands them more than anybody else because he experienced them too. And he redeemed them too. Yeah. And I forget that so often. And I think a turning point for me was coming to a point where I don't know if I could even identify exactly when it was, but I do know the feeling of feeling so desperate. Like, this is a repeated thing that keeps coming up. It's harming not just my own mental, emotional health, but it's also hindering then my relationships around me, and especially with those friends that I'm finding myself comparing to. And so I think that at that point is when I realized, like, oh my gosh, I was reminded that I can just cry out to God, and that he is the one who, he's the only one that I can truly know that he's going to take me exactly how I am. He's not afraid of my questions. He's not afraid of my feelings. He is like, daughter, just talk to me. Like, God wants our honest prayers. And I forget that so often, that he's like, girl, just come to me. Like, just talk to me.
In all your sass, in all your anger.
All of it.
I swear, I tell people all the time, I'm like, my conversations with Jesus I'm so sassy. And he's probably like, girl, calm down. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah. It's probably his favorite because he's like, all right, great. Something honest is about to come up right now. Yes, perfect.
And then it probably landed me in, like, tears because I just am like... Maybe it's a coping mechanism. Maybe we're having therapy right now. Maybe my sass is a coping mechanism.
That is possible. Ooh, whoa.
Talk about a hot take now, people.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I need to go cool off outside now. It's kind of a little hot in the studio.
I think it's true, though. I think we all have those kind of things that are truly, at the end of the day, our coping mechanisms for what's actually down there. Like, what, and by that I just mean the roots. Like, what is at the root of the reason why we're reacting the way that we are, that we're thinking the way that we are. And coping mechanisms are real.
So real.
So real.
So if you're just a little extra sassy, I feel you. I'm right there with you.
And he feels it too, because he made you that way.
I'm like, you made me this way. So the only person you can blame is yourself.
Precisely.
Are there any, talking about going to the Lord in prayer and in the Word, are there different either like passages of scripture, different stories in the Bible, books of the Bible that really are kind of your foundation points, your pillars when it comes to, like, I'm falling into this cycle of comparison, or, I was really struggling with this today, or this happened at work and I just need time to process it. Like, where do you spend that time in the Word, or like what are maybe some prayers that you you pray, because hot take, y'all, if you were listening to Evan's message a couple episodes ago, you can pray other people's prayers. You're not cheating. And so, like, what
Good
are
advice.
some, like, things that you do
Mm-hmm.
when you spend that time with the Lord?
Yeah. I think this probably won't surprise you, but the Psalms are a really, really good place to go when I just love David's honesty when he writes, when he's literally just like bearing it all to God. And like he's somebody that growing up, I felt like my emotions were always too big and too much, and that they like that it was just always too much. And it when I was introduced to King David in the Bible and just saw that that's exactly who he was, and it wasn't too much, it was, but he bared it all, and he gave that to God, and God didn't turn away. He didn't turn his face from him. And I was reminded that that's exactly who he is to me. And so there's a lot that I read in there, and I love Psalm 139, and it's long, and I'm not going to quote it right, but I know that
we have time.
Good. I love how it goes on to just talk about like how God made us. Like we were created, like we were fearfully and wonderfully made, and that and it's not just we as everyone, but like specifically me, specifically you. Like he created us exactly how he wanted us to be, and that was not a mistake. And at no point was any of it ever a mistake. And so I think that brings a lot of comfort to me, knowing that he created me how he wanted to create me, and I am just in this gracious process, gracious coming from him, graciousness coming from God, in like being refined and being like learning what it truly means to be his child, and what that means that he's made me so different from the other people in my life and those around me, and that's a good and a beautiful thing, because all of us coming together makes something so much better in this world. And my life verse is actually Romans 12:2, and it's do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so then you'll be able to test and I knew that I was going to butcher this.
We can pull up the Bible app.
Yes, we should.
Romans 12:2.
Yeah, I think it's 12:1 through 2.
You need like little intro music. You got something back there, Asher?
I got it.
Beautiful.
Okay. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And that was actually something that my mom had put in a Bible that she gifted me in high school. And it was because she saw me, as I'm sure she had a lot of compassion for her teenage daughter who was just trying to find her way in the world.
Trying to figure life out.
Just trying to figure her life out. But what stands out to me in that was, and still does, is that like it doesn't end at you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. It goes on to say his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And that to me is so beautiful, because he's like, trust me, you don't have to live the way that the world lives. You don't have to, even if it's good, like even if it's someone in your life who like has a good life and is trying to honor God too, like he still doesn't want you to be something that you're not. Like God doesn't want to, he actually can't get to know the version of you that you're trying to be, because that doesn't exist. Like he wants to know you, and he wants you to know him. And that helps you figure out like what his good and pleasing and perfect will is. Because chances are it's going to look different as you get older. And as you and I have talked about, like life looks different single in your 30s than it does in your 20s. And
for sure.
It's a weird, messy, beautiful life.
Right. Well, in that, like, you think of like, oh, this is God's plan for my life in high school, and then that changes in college, and then it changes again in your 20s and again in your 30s. But to have that constant, Jesus is constant no matter what. But to have that constant reminder in Romans 12:2 that like no matter what, his will for you is like perfect and pleasing and good. And like if it's in God's plan, if it's in God's will, like it's going to bring so much peace.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like in a journey of comparison to be reminded of, like, you know, if you're trying to do something that just to show that you can do it too, or like show up more than this other person who does the same thing. If it's
Yeah.
causing you anxiety or stress or like all this negative emotion, probably not in God's will, and you're doing it for the wrong intentions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes that's not always the case, but if you're trying to, like, you know, one up someone else, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's true.
Speaking from experience, just saying.
Yeah.
When, you know, I think one thing too, you know, thinking of the 10 Commandments where it says, like, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
How do you take that? And then
Mhm.
you're like, okay, well, now we have this, like, worldly emotion. I don't know if you can consider comparison an emotion. Maybe.
It's a practice that at least comes out of some not so great emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. I like, how have you kind of tried to, like, comprehend these two things? Because
Mm.
we live in a world and in a society where, you know, comparison is very present, but we have a commandment from the Lord to love our neighbor as yourself, and, like, love God, love people.
Yeah. So maybe a hot take, but I think it's a pretty good one. I think that comparison as long as comparison exists, you cannot well celebrate your friends' successes or the people in your life that you're comparing yourself to.
Mm.
Like, you cannot well celebrate those at the same time that you are trying to pursue figuring out even like who you are and what you want. Like, comparison robs you from being able to do either like those things well. Like, I think it makes it impossible to really love yourself and your neighbor well when comparison has entered the room. And that is
hot take.
Yeah, that's something we got there. I think that it is. There's a quote that that I've thought about so much in my life, like, that comparison is a thief of joy. And it's true. Like, it really truly is. It takes away the joy from experiencing your own life as well as bringing joy to those around you, whether they be your neighbor that you're just passing on the street or somebody who is a very dear friend of yours. And you have to be so careful. And how terrible of a life, too, to not be able to experience joy because you've let comparison take the reins.
Absolutely. And, you know, talking about comparison being the thief of all joy, you know, how do we find that joy in our life and kind of push comparison out in a sense of, you know, I'm not going to compare my life to this other person because God's writing a beautiful story for this person, and he's also writing a beautiful story for me. I may not see that, you know, finish line quite yet, or like the purpose in this season that I'm in until I get to the last chapter of this, or last page of this particular chapter. But through that, being like, you know, I am thankful for, and kind of practicing that gratitude of, like, almost grounding yourself in the joys that God has already placed in your life.
Yeah.
How has practicing gratitude helped you combat feelings of maybe envy or inadequacy or not feeling good enough, things like that?
Yeah. Yeah, gratitude is powerful. Like, if comparison is powerful, gratitude is way more. But it's subtle. Like, it's something, and it's something that you have to be very disciplined in to see the true fruit of it. And I would say that just very practically, even in just this last couple of years, I've really been, as I've been trying to figure out, like, who's Kelley at this stage of her life. Like,
Right.
I've been personally just trying to pursue things that do bring me a lot of joy, or things that I've been curious about trying, but I've been hesitant to. And I've been finding that the more things that I'm doing that are bringing me joy, that don't have anything to do with, like, my other friends' hobbies and interests or whatever, that I'm finding more reasons to be excited about my life, like to be excited about where God has me right now. I think it had to start, though, with surrendering what I thought my life would look like years ago, or even in the last couple of years, honestly.
Or the last month.
Or the last month, exactly. Like, surrender isn't a one-time thing. It
Mm-hmm.
is a constant thing. And it's saying to God, like, hey, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't know, but you know, and I trust you. And
Absolutely.
like, that's a prayer that you can pray all the time. And I find myself praying all the time, like, God, I don't know, but you know, and I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that as you keep going, as you keep taking steps towards things that towards him, and then therefore steps towards the things that he is like wired you for and made you like given you to be excited about in this world and with his people, those opportunities are opportunities to be just grateful that you can try new things and that it's never too late. And then sometimes you end up looking around and realizing like, oh, I didn't expect this to be a part of my life. And now I'm so glad like that it is. So yeah, I don't know. Gratitude is really pretty. I really pretty.
I mean, it is really
It is
pretty.
really pretty. I like myself better when I'm like living my life through the lens of gratitude. So maybe it just looks prettier on a person when they have
Yeah.
gratitude. I don't know.
I mean, it's true.
It works.
You're more
So-
friendly to talk to. You're not like always angry.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's say someone is listening to this and they're like, wow, I find myself in comparison a lot. And like, maybe I just need to start, the small baby steps of practicing gratitude. What can you provide as far as like advice or wisdom or a word of encouragement to our listeners who might need to start or feel like they need to start practicing gratitude? Like, how should
Mm.
they even begin?
Yeah. I would say so, and I'm sharing this as an example of something that I don't do quite yet, but it is a great example, and it's something that I've been inspired by. A friend that I was mentioning earlier, she has been keeping a gratitude journal for I don't know how many years exactly, but it's like
A long time.
a long, long time. Like she's got a whole shelf of these gratitude journals,
wow.
and she's made a rule with herself that before she goes to bed every night, she has to fill an entire page with gratitude, like just
Oh, wow.
specifically gratitudes. And I share that because I, as one of her good friends, like I've gotten to see the fruit of that in her life and how that it spills out to the people around her, myself included. And so it's something that I've been trying to do. I don't do it every single night, but I've been trying to, at the end of each day, kind of just listing out like what happened today and like where did God show up and like who crossed my path that otherwise like maybe I wouldn't have noticed, I wouldn't have thought about. And then that helps to reset for the next day, to just see life through a different lens and just be grateful for who God is and what he's doing in your life right now.
For sure.
I think that's something that I've been trying to do. And then just praying, like I said earlier, like we're just praying honest prayers. Like God doesn't need your polished, pretty prayers. He just wants you, and he wants your honesty, and he wants your questions. I think it's like one of Satan's biggest tricks is to cause you to retreat and to isolate when you have those questions and when you don't know what God is doing or why your life looks the way that it does. Like Satan would want you to try and go figure it out over here by yourself rather than bringing it directly to God in each step of the way.
Absolutely.
He wants your honesty. He wants you, like, and you can't hide anyway. Like he sees
Right.
you, but in a good way. In a really beautiful way. Like he sees you and he like loves every single part about you, and he wants more for you.
Absolutely. Like Kelley said, like you said earlier, like every one of us is fearfully and wonderfully made and has a unique journey. And like you're going through a unique journey. Your friend's going through a unique journey. I'm going through a unique, different, crazy, wild ride journey. I feel like I'm just like, whew, that was a crazy roller coaster of a day.
Yeah.
And, embracing that journey, I think is so important. And also finding that gratitude, because someone could be like, nothing happened today. It's like, almost like you have to realize like you are on a unique journey and it's not going to be exactly what you thought of, but it's exactly what God has thought up and has dreamed up and has written out and has written.
Yeah.
What have you learned about the importance of embracing your particularly unique journey, even when it differs from societal expectations or timelines?
Yeah, definitely. That, yeah, that's actually something that I've been thinking about a lot in relation to actually my brother. And my brother, he's 2 years older than me, and he's been married for 11 years. They have 3 kids. And I had a conversation with them about a year ago where we realized that we weren't spending much time in our relationship, giving advice or like asking questions or just kind of like learning from one another. And it felt like there was this just like gap that was going on. And I talked to them one day, and one of them had said something about like, well, I wish I understood what that was like being single in your late 20s and now early 30s, and like, but I just don't know because I've never experienced that. And I was like, oh, it was like this epiphany that I had. I was like, guys, that's like, I don't ever want our different stages of life to be something that hinders us from learning from one another. Because the truth is, like, yeah, we're all gonna like in some ways be at different stages. But what I wouldn't want to happen is like I'm finally at the point where I have found the right person and that I am maybe planning to get married and at that stage, but we haven't spent any time before that really knowing each other, that we haven't counted on each other, and that we haven't shared just the day-to-day with one another. Because I think like it's a lie that you can't speak into something just because you haven't lived it exactly like them. And it was like we all had this major epiphany in this conversation. And I think sometimes it's good too to even just recognize that sometimes people who are living at a different stage of life or maybe haven't experienced the same as you can bring in an objectivity that the people who are your peers can't. And so I say that to say, like, I think that that was something that really helped me see, like, you don't have to be at the same stage in order to speak life or to receive advice from others.
That's really good. And even my brother and I have walked through that. Like, he has a girlfriend and they've been dating for, my brother's gonna not like me for this. I don't know this. I'm so sorry, Troy.
I'm pretty sure my brother and sister-in-law have been married 11 years, but
a year. I think I would say that's probably a safe bet. I'm gonna bet on a year. He'll probably text me after he listens to this and is like, that was wrong, but maybe he'll text me saying I'm right. So
there's grace.
Yeah. Right. Troy, give me grace.
50-50.
Right. But like there's been times where like he has come to me with like, hey, I'm wondering if you could like help me out with this situation. And I was like, you're the one in a relationship, not me.
Yep.
My relationships have significantly failed. And so why are you asking me for advice? But it's almost that like, I've gone through some things, not everything. I haven't been in a relationship for a year and a long time. But to have that honesty of like just sharing in those moments of, this is what I have learned. And then me going to my brother for advice too, and like he gives it right back. And I think there's something so beautiful of realizing you don't have to be at the same stage to be in community with those people. Yeah. And they're going to provide a different insight than like what you said, some of your other peers might provide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really grateful that realization happened, because it makes me even just look differently then too about like discipleship and number one, the importance of it and seeking it out by having people that are pouring into you that are at a different life stage. And then also like looking for those opportunities that might be right there, but you haven't even recognized them as opportunities to invest and pour into others that are younger. Discipleship is huge.
Absolutely. And I think in that discipleship aspect, in that community aspect, you can share in just even small joys, because we're in this kind of, we've talked about comparison, like how comparison is the thief of all joy. Now, how do we find joy? Like, how do we not let comparison steal our joy for living and our joy for doing what God has called us to, having joy to, share the gospel? And how do you find joy in the small victories and everyday moments rather than solely in major milestones?
Yeah, that's so important. I'm single, and someday would love to be married, have kids, but I look at my life right now, and I'm really proud that I'm 33 and I'm like, I love my life. Like I look around and I don't see myself as like I'm waiting to live until I've like found that person or I've like got that dream career or whatever. Now I still think it's a daily thing where it's like, okay, like I'm still fighting off that. Like I would like that. I totally would like that. But I also look at my life and like there are certain things that I would not be able to do right now if I was married, if I did have kids. And I think it's no matter what stage of life you're in, it's important to celebrate and like truly celebrate those small joys because like that's what builds up a life that is full of joy. Like that's what adds up to a beautiful life is when you going back to us talking about gratitude, like those things lead to a life that like you're proud of. And for me now at this stage, like I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm just done waiting for this, like these things, like and insert here, whatever those things are. And I'm going to like look at my life and decide like, am I showing up in the places that like God wants me to be? Like, am I seeking out the opportunities that are going to push me, that are going to make me grow? Like, I know that I'm wired for these things, or I keep thinking about how I want to do this one thing. Like, what am I waiting for? And this year, actually, I decided my word for the year is activate. And I chose that word because I didn't realize this. I thought my whole life I was like this risk taker, super adventurous, and like turns out I'm just adaptable because I've moved a lot. But when
you've done a lot of soul searching,
yeah, exactly, yes. But I need to, and that's a good way of putting it because I need to get out of my head. I need to get out of my head and my heart and do things. And so one of those examples for me has been I'm a runner, and I for a long time thought like I did the races, I run on my own or I run with my roommate. But for a long time I thought like I should join a run club. Like those sound like the place that I should be because my friends tell me I'm like an Energizer bunny when I'm running with them. And I just talk, it like opens me up. And I know that I would find my people if I went to a run club. I would find my people, and my friends would be glad that I found my people because then I'm not just talking their ears off all the time. But I put it off for so long because I, list of excuses for why I decided it wasn't for me. But I finally decided to go this last year, and turns out I did find my people.
You found your people.
I did. We're all similar in the ways that we of course enjoy running. But it was just it was something that brought me joy, that sparked joy in me that I didn't even know was there. It was like I tapped into another level of it that I didn't know I was capable of, or I wasn't, that was possible. And it's led to connections that I didn't have before, like friendships that I didn't have before. And it's been something that's been really, really cool that I'm glad that I decided to pursue that. And that's just one area that I decided to stop saying no to. I'm glad. Sure.
I don't think I've ever heard in a sentence Energizer Bunny and running come from the mouth of any of my friends. Like you are the first.
Really?
I'm like, Energizer Bunny and running. Okay, Kelley, okay.
Yep, just ask my friends. So that's me. Hi.
I would be like, I don't even have the breath to respond back.
Yeah. Yeah. It turns out there's a few of us in Duluth. The run clubs just keep getting bigger. They say don't go to therapy, just join a run club. So that's not for me. That's not my advice.
I was like,
you're like, should we dig into that a little bit more,
I was
actually?
Like, do we need to lay down in this couch next to us here? And do we need to explore that a little bit?
I think so. Get out your notepad, please. Yep.
And just join conversations, friends. Go grab coffee. A small little joy. We wouldn't be here today if you didn't randomly come up to me at Yellow Bike Coffee Shop a year ago.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, are you the guy with boldly seeking? I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
I was like,
hi.
I was like, hey, yes. And then we were like, let's grab coffee. I hate to say it, friends. We did not grab coffee for a whole year.
Far too long.
I think I reached out to you and it's like, hey, what about the coffee? You want to go get coffee? So we finally got coffee.
Yep.
A couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
We're friends.
Now
I feel like I've known you forever.
Honestly.
At least a year.
At least a year. Maybe more. But just one, take the risk and do something. Maybe it's this person that you kind of know or you don't know, or this thing that you kind of want to do, but you don't really know if you're going to like it or not. And maybe you will find your joy in that, or you'll find a new friend, or you'll find a new connection. Taking risks is a good thing. Don't you have something in your Facebook too about like dares or something?
Yes.
I feel like we need to explore this because...
Do you want me to tell you? Should I?
Yeah.
Are we doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, Kelley has fun. If there's one thing I've learned about you is you certainly find the joy in the small moments of life, including accepting other people's dares to expand your adaptability.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing this. I'm daring myself to do something really ridiculous.
You probably couldn't do this if you were in a relationship. See?
Exactly.
Full circle moment.
Good
this
point.
is how we're connecting this in.
Good.
Now I need the people to know this.
All right. So I'm 33, and I just recently turned 33.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
I think I texted you. I did.
You
text
did.
you.
Oh no, you did.
Okay.
You gave me a really nice, sweet note. It was beautiful, guys. Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes. So I've been thinking about this for a little bit because I had been listening to a podcast where they were talking about, or this woman was sharing how she had dealt with postpartum depression, and it was something that she dealt with for a number of years, and it was she tried everything, and she was just kind of barely surviving. And so she's like, I just started pulling at straws or grasping at straws, trying to figure out like, what do I do? And so she started to reflect on those things that brought her a lot of joy in her life, those moments that brought her a lot of joy. And the thing that was kind of a consistent theme for her was random shenanigans with her people, doing things that took her out of her comfort zone. That is what ended up being the root of like why she experienced these joys. And I heard that and I was like, wow, well, that's interesting. Like it really stood out to me because I've been thinking a lot about risks. Because like I said, like I thought I was a risk taker.
Turns out she's not.
Turns out not as much as I thought. Not as much as I thought. But soon I'll be the riskiest person you know. So I heard that and I was like, all right. She then went on to share that for that next year, she allowed anyone in her life to dare her to do anything as long as it was ethical, not illegal, reasonably safe. And the caveat was that they had to donate to a charity that she chose. And so, and it could be no cost to her as well. So I heard her talk about this.
People free.
Free to me at least. So I took all this into account. I struggle with depression, and it's something that I'm working against a lot, and that God is meeting me in every day. But when I heard that, I was like, you know what? Like, I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been thinking about how often I say no when I want to say yes. And I want to just live this year a little bit differently. I want to do some things for the story. And so
for the plot, we're here for the plot.
So I call this Do It for the Story is what it's called. And so for this next year, I am allowing anyone in my life to dare me to do anything. And they have to donate to the charity that I have chosen. And so I have some friends that are very excited about this. And I'm terrified to know what they have up their sleeve. But yeah, I'm excited to see the ways that I overcome a bit of that hesitancy, that withholding, and that just like, I just want to live my life with more abandon and meet some really cool people out of it. I think that's going to happen too. So,
have you done any dares yet?
No, but I've been told about a couple of them so far. Do you want to hear?
Yeah,
this one is so scary. You ready for this?
Is it?
So this weekend I was with my parents, and my mom was like, Kelley, I got a good one for you.
Ooh.
I'm
I feel like when moms say that, it's like, ooh.
I mean, my mom is wonderful. She loves me. I love her. She's the best. I really, really, really love my mom. I don't love what she's making me do. She is.
Then you start questioning.
The build up here. The build up.
You start to question, do you really love me?
You're not
Asher's on the edge of his seat behind the computer right now.
My mom is daring me to make my bed 30 days in a row.
You don't make your bed every day? Wait, what?
Nope. I would rather skydive than make my bed 30 days in a row. And I told her that. Because I don't know. I don't know, Rebecca. Like, again, we're at the beginning of this, so there's a lot of things I'm going to learn about myself in the process. I'm already asking
This is
myself,
like a fun fact.
why don't you want? Yeah, it is. It's probably the fact I should have shared at the beginning. No,
that
I
she
don't.
doesn't like to make her bed.
Yeah, I should say I like making it, but it is not a discipline of mine. It is not something that I feel
That's
like
wild.
is important to do every single day. So, because something that I learned about myself too is if it doesn't impact other people, I'm less likely to do the thing. Because I'm like, well, if it's not going to impact those around me that I love and care about, like, it's fine. Like, that can take a back seat. So
I'm like, I
see like light bulbs going off.
I just like, because my parents, if my bed was not made before I went to school, they're like, you need to hustle back in and make your bed before the bus comes.
Okay, so childhood, yes. I
But
would do
still,
that
to
because I
this
still
day,
lived with them. And
I
this
have
weekend,
guilt if I don't make my bed in the morning.
You what?
I have guilt if I don't make my bed in the morning.
Really?
Yeah,
Man.
like that. You get up, bathroom, brush teeth, make bed, then get dressed.
See, I want to be more like that. I really do. And maybe a year from now, we're going to be talking and you'll be like, Kelley, how many days in a row have you done it? And I'll be like, 365. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
have doubts.
Kelley's mom, you need to do this because I would love to check in with Kelley after day 30 and see if she's maybe started a good habit.
We'll see.
That's wild.
Yeah, I know. My grandparents, see, like we're starting pretty light here, but my grandparents, my grandpa specifically, could not fathom daring me to do anything. Like anytime I would say the word, he's like, I'm sorry, can we change that? And because he's like, I can't imagine daring my precious granddaughter to do anything. I'm
You're
like,
the
all
favorite,
right, grandpa, challenge or opportunity. How about that? And he's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can stomach challenge or opportunity. And so they proceeded to later that night text me this whole novel, which was so sweet. And they are challenging me to do a random act of kindness for somebody every day for 30 days.
That's a good one.
It's a very good one. Yeah. But again, we're starting light. So
right. I have a feeling there are a few very, very close to you that are not going to be so kind in that way.
Well, another fun fact about me is that I don't eat cereal with milk.
Do you just eat dry cereal?
I just eat dry cereal and I eat it with a spoon, which apparently makes me a crazy person. I don't know. But my friend has, he said that he's going to dare me to, for the rest of my life, eat cereal with milk.
I hope he puts a hefty donation to that charity.
I told him that's going to have to be huge. That donation is going to have to be much bigger than
30 days.
Yeah.
Maybe a week.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully this is inspiring you to come up with something better than what I have so far. But I do think that making my bed is unfortunately going to be a big challenge.
Friends, all I'm saying is if you have a dare for Kelley, I will donate upon your behalf to dare Kelley to do things. You just send us a DM and we'll make it happen.
Be nice, please.
Maybe get a little risque.
Yeah.
I would say you could go skydiving, but that costs money.
But people can pay themselves. So my friend Dan, he asked me, he was like, now Kelley, you said that it can't cost you anything, but can it cost me something? And I said, technically, yes. He's like,
this just opened up a whole new world.
I know. But they still have to donate too. So it's pay for and donate.
If people's got the money, you might be skydiving over Lake Superior.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I love skydiving.
As long as it's not bungee jumping, I'm fine.
That is scary.
Yeah. Okay. So you've gone skydiving
in New Zealand.
Oh,
over a body of water next to a mountain.
Oh my gosh!
It
just keeps getting better.
So it was fantastic. Actually, it was actually next to the mountain range that is in Lord of the Rings, the Misty Mountains.
Oh my gosh! You said we would cry in this podcast. I might cry just even knowing
this could be the part where we cry.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna cry when I tell you what I might dare you to do.
Oh,
I'm not gonna tell you. You just wait.
You're gonna tell me now? You're gonna wait?
I'll tell you later. I just have to think of it first.
And then text all my friends and let them know, hey guys, this one girl you don't know, you want to dare her to do anything?
Yes. Yeah. Y'all just send us a DM what your dares are. We'll make this happen. But in all the joy in, our conversation today and just like, looking ahead at life and day to day, things that we do, like just having joy in that, not, not always falling into that comparison or, just thinking through, just being a little bit more like one, gracious to yourself, and two, just having gratitude for your life. We always love to end our episodes with a word of encouragement, a challenge, a whatever you want to call it, a dare, if it may be, to the listeners, to the viewers, for them to take with them throughout the next couple weeks until we're back on the podcast. And what would you encourage to those who might be struggling with comparison or even just feeling behind in life, maybe not even, falling into like finding that joy and feeling like comparison is stealing them from having a joyful life?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say run your race and at your own pace. Knowing that that is where you're going to truly find like the freedom that God has already given you. Like God has already promised you. Like it's for freedom that he set you free. And he's not just set you free from your sins and like but that is very important to know. But he set you free to live a life fully here, full of joy, no matter what stage of life that you are in and find yourself. Like in his presence is fullness of joy, and you can find that today. It's not too late to pursue that. And I would say really practically too, if you have anyone in your life that you are finding yourself, and I mean people that you're close to, where you're noticing like you are struggling a little bit with comparison, like even if it's like a small little thing or small little feeling like we were talking about, like those little pangs of like angst or comparison, like that's something that can grow and can fester and can get really big before you even realize that it's happening. And so if you have any of that, like I would just say, like have that conversation with your friend. Say like, hey, I need to talk this out with you because I don't want this to become a problem. And I recognize that it could. And like love yourself and your friends enough to be willing to have those hard conversations. Like I can't enforce that or like encourage that enough. Like if that had not happened with a couple of my friends, like I think I would still be in that spot instead of being in the place where we're like, guys, we recognize this is a thing, but this is a safe place for us to talk about that and to pray for each other and to encourage one another. So just have the conversation.
That's so good. How can, we have offered up our DMs for dares, but how can people, if they have more questions on maybe how to have those conversations, or if they, might want to send you a dare themselves because they need to explain it better than I could, I don't know. Maybe it's a super elaborate plan. Yeah. How can they get in contact with you and like speak with you, have a little chat, meet for coffee? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I manage the social media at Life 97.3. So I'd love to connect with you through Facebook on there. It's just Life 97.3. I'm the one checking those messages, and feel free to follow us too, because I want to know what you think about what we post as well.
Yes. So great. So great. Well, Kelley, thank you so much for just taking the time to just share your story, just have this little coffee Jesus chat with some lovely still water and just sharing, your heart behind living a life that's full of joy and taking a little bit of risk and just doing it for the story, doing it for the plot. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this conversation today. So thank you for just your time and your heart and everything.
Absolutely.
Well, friends, per usual, you know the drill. We always want to encourage you to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, like, subscribe, comment on the episodes. By you rating the show, commenting, leaving us a review helps us to reach more people with these conversations. So you are helping the ministry to continue. You are helping people to listen to those hard conversations that they might be needing or wanting or not even know that they needed to hear something that was said on the podcast. So we thank you for your partnership. We thank you for your constant encouragement on Instagram and Facebook. It is always such a joy to read your messages. Our DMs are always open. So y'all know the drill. The next time we are on the podcast, y'all, I'm so excited because we are turning 5. Boldly Seeking Ministries is turning 5 years old. We have a very special podcast episode launching that same week. So the next episode you're not going to want to miss. We're going to have a big birthday party in the studio and are going to invite you to celebrate with us. So we'll see you in a couple weeks when we get to have a very big party for Boldly Seeking for Jesus and all that he has done over the last 5 years. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe and rate our show to stay up to date on our latest episode releases. We'd love to hear from you, so head on over to our website or the gram, say hi, be encouraged, and join the movement as we continue to boldly seek after Jesus together. We'll see you next time on the Between the Pages podcast.